So first of all, I want to thank y'all. Y'all have been an inspiration to me. Brian and Stacy, Clark, I love y'all. I just kind of the honor and the privilege to be here to share my testimony. I really appreciate y'all. And I appreciate Celebrate Recovery. Yes. And Kingdom Church International joining us. All right. So we're going to get into this because I got a little time. Okay, so this is okay. So let me. My testimonies are different from everybody else's as far as my testimony is like a brand new restaurant that's opened up, and you got a menu, and you got different entrees on that menu, and so this entree is actually Spiritual Awakening Part 3. Your mental health belongs to God. All right. So don't fret if you haven't heard part one, part two. It's available on our Kingdom Church International page on YouTube. It's part one, Spiritual Awakening, part two, the next level, and I'm bringing part three. So you can listen to it whenever you want to. God has asked me to bring the mental health part of addiction. All right, so we're going to get into this. So with mental illness, um, the scientists and the researchers have seen that mental illness it comes from two factors. It can either come from your environment, the way you grew up, or genetics. It's in your blood, in your genetics. There's another factor that goes with the mental illness. It's a spiritual factor. It's demonic. There's demons that's in mental illnesses. So anytime that a person is acting out of character, I'm gonna walk around y'all so I'm shake off. Anytime a person is acting out of character, like leaving their baby at the house 4 a.m. to go get some drugs, and they 10 months old, cussing somebody out, just doing all kind of crazy stuff, more than likely it's demonic. The scientists and the researchers want to say it's a mental thing. So you got like bipolar, paranoid schizophrenia, you got ADHD and all kind of different illnesses, and the scientist does not want to acknowledge the spiritual fact. My dad, he has growed me up in telling me and taught me that everything is spiritual. Everything across the board, whether you atheist, a believer, a non-believer, a Hindu, Buddha, everything is spiritual. There is a spiritual warfare going on 24/7. While you sleep, while you're working, while you're eating, while you're chilling, it's always something going on in the spirit at all times. You got the angels and the demons going at it on our behalf. And so one way that the enemy tries to get us is through the spiritual realm by sending demonic spirits to our mental state to cause us to act out and be out of character. All right? So I'm going to get into the testimony part, and then we're going to get back into the mental health. So my name is Jessica Goode. I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and had a good life growing up. I was there till I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. And my parents, they wasn't in the Lord at the time. They were saved, but they wasn't living the life. So, me being a child, and my dad was in the Navy, my mom, she was a banker, and so we had money, right? I got everything I wanted. I had my doll houses and brand new bikes and all that kind of stuff. I thought we was living good. I enjoyed my childhood, right? I didn't know, and Kingdom Church International has heard this, but I didn't know that there was an undercurrent. I didn't know that there was troubled waters, in other words. So going back, when I was growing up there, I had my friends, my dad's Navy buddies, their children was my best friends. We all grew up. We all had the same mind. We had the same stuff, same doll houses. We got the latest bikes, and we ride together. And I was accepted. Didn't have any issues of being accepted. I wasn't on I wasn't an outsider, in other words. So I grew up with my friends, and so one day my dad comes in. I'm watching TV on their bed. He comes in, he sits on the bed, and he starts crying. I'm talking about bawling. That was the first time I ever seen my dad cry, and in pain, a painful cry. That was traumatic within itself. So I'm like, Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he was like, your mom, she's planning on leaving. She's planning on packing you up and her, and they're leaving. Like we're not gonna be together anymore. So that was traumatic. So my dad, was a lady at the job, always inviting my dad to church. And he wasn't, he wasn't inviting. He was like, I'm not doing it. So my dad was like, I got this last resort. I got this, we can try this last thing before you leave. He's telling my mom, we're going to try church. Okay? Because he had grew up in church. He got away from the church and he was like, I'm going to get back. I'm going to try this. And so, and that's, y'all, I just want a side note. Always invite somebody to church. Even if they say no, it's going to be a time where they're going to remember you. And they're going to be like, you know what? It's hell going on in my life. I remember they invited me to church. Think I'm going to try it. Always invite. So that's what this lady did for my dad. And so he went to her and he was like, where's your church at? So I guess he got the church bug because he was like, I think I'm going to stick this. I'm going to start going down this path. And so pretty much my life got uprooted. Wasn't with my friends anymore. I wasn't at my school. I wasn't in the nice house with all, with my comfortableness and my dollhouse and all that kind of stuff. And so we settled in Rome. And the reason why I was mentioning the fact about the money factor is because we went from a lifestyle, because I was the only child at the time. So like I said, I could go to dad, I could be like, I want the biggest and the best dollhouse. Okay, baby, I got you. You know what I mean? I can do that now. No, I'm just playing. I love my dad, man. He tells me to this day, don't ask me, ask your mama. Don't ask me. I'm like, no, I'm asking you, because I'm going to get the yes. Okay, so went from that lifestyle of having to a lifestyle of we're living at my granddaddy's house. No money. My dad is a pizza delivery driver. My mama has no job. I don't have my own room anymore. I don't have my bike. I don't have my dollhouse. I don't have my friends. So y'all listen to this part closely. So when I go to the school, the new school, I'm getting picked on. I wasn't used to it. I was used to being accepted and fitting in because we all grew up together in Virginia. And so I didn't grow up with these people. So I'm an outsider off the rip. They picking on me. I'm in elementary school. They're like, you're too skinny. You're too black. Your lips too big. You talk funny and all this stuff. And I'm just like, what is the problem? Like, I didn't even come in with a bad attitude or nothing. I was like, why don't y'all like me? We just don't. Traumatic. Talking about, I'm already starting to have a mental breakdown. Already. So, going into that, so my dad started getting his spiritual awakening, and I'm going to get into that, my last thing. He started getting to his spiritual awakening, and he gets called to preach. First, he becomes a youth pastor. So our whole lifestyle is changing. Now there's rules and, now there's, where I could do whatever I wanted to do. Now there's boundaries and there's, you got to kind of walk straight. And I hated that too. Because I was just like, I went from a life of no rules. You didn't care. You know what I mean? Like I could do whatever I wanted and I loved it. And so my dad's a youth pastor and we go to this church called New Hope Baptist Church. So in my mind, I'm like, if we go to church, these children here at church they're gonna treat me right. You know what I mean? They're in church. The worst. Worse than the children at the school. Worse. So we're going same thing. Well, we don't like you. We just not accepting. I'm just like I'm starting to have another mental breakdown. So we're outside playing in the church, in the front yard. And church is going on, and they coming at me hard, picking on me real hard, just, and I'm the only one. It's so weird. We have a group of teenagers, or teenagers, and I'm the only one they coming at, picking and looking and look. And so I'm just like, you know what? It's better off that I'm not here. It's better off that I'm not living. I can't deal with the picking on at school. Now I get to church, I'm getting picked on here. I laid in the street, laid all the way flat in the street. There was a street beside the yard. My parents don't know this. I laid flat in the street, and I was like, I'm better off dead. I hope a car comes and runs me over. That's when I had a mental break right then. When you have a mental break, there's doors in the spiritual realm that sling wide open. And when that door opens, all kind of spirits come in and attach itself to you. Real quick, is the lady that was here last week when she said that she was delivered from depression for 4 years? She got a 4-year chip. Where you at? She was here? Okay. Well, I wanted to tell her that she had just divorced the spirit of depression. She just divorced it. Because sometimes we marry spirits by claiming them and by acknowledging it and speaking it. I'm bipolar. I have paranoid schizophrenia. I have anti anxiety and depression. But we don't really know. That's why God got me here. We don't really know that. We're just saying it, but there's stuff going on in the spiritual realm when you speak it out. Doors are being slung wide open, and all kind of spirits attached to those mental illnesses are coming with it. So I'm trying to think where I was at. Okay, so I'm laying down in the street. I'm like, I'm better off dead. That's when the doors slung wide open, and I really believe that that's when my anxiety and depression, which they diagnosed me with, before I went into rehab, they diagnosed me with bipolar and anxiety and depression. I think that's when the doors was open, that's what attached to me. So fast forward, right? Get to high school. I'm a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader since fourth grade all the way up, and they picked on that. How did you get here and just get on the cheerleading team in fourth grade? How did you? I'm just like, I just wanted to cheer. Like, what's the problem? You know what I mean? So I was just like in my head, and so I'm in high school. I'm on the varsity team as a ninth grader. That was a big deal. So I started getting accepted. Started getting the eyes from the boys and stuff like that. Started, you know, feeling accepted and fitting in. And so we're in a group, and they're starting to talk about drugs, sex, and so they're like, have you had sex yet? You got a boyfriend? Have you had sex yet? I was like, no, I haven't. And you ain't never done a BJ. Y'all know what that is? Yeah, I ain't never done. I said, I don't even know what that is. You ain't never kissed a boy or whatever. Have you ever tried weed or whatever? So by me not doing none of that stuff, I became an outsider all over again. All over again. Got accepted, and because I wasn't engaging in these acts, became an outsider all over again. Another mental break. So, I want to get into this right quick as far as I'm trying to see how to merge this in. All right, so with the mental break and the spirit coming in, it's seven strong man spirits in the spiritual realm that's attached to different mental illnesses. You got a spirit of pride, you got a spirit of anger, you got a spirit of rebellion, you got a spirit of fear and control, you got a spirit of religion. Let's see. You got a spirit of sickness, and you got a spirit of unbelief, wrong belief, disbelief. That's just simply not receiving the word of God, not receiving God's presence, not receiving Him, period. All these spirits are linked to these mental illnesses. So if you have a mental illness, one of them spirits is linked to it. All right, so I have a clip. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, here we go. So when when we was in the friend group in high school, and they was like, have you ever tried any drugs? I was like, no, I haven't. So to fit in, I had my first smoke. That opened up the door for the spirits to come in. Had my first smoke, and so they say that if they say it's from environment or genetic, the mental illness. Some people might have a mental illness that's lying dormant, that's sleep. And the act of using drugs will actually wake that spirit up. You know what I mean? And so whether it was from genetics or environment, the spirit on the inside of you taking that first drug or that first drink activates it. So I have a clip, right, of this girl, and I'm almost coming to a close. I have a clip of this girl. The person up here that's talking is a college student. She not the one talking, but she's talking about a college student that wrote into her. She had a spirit of paranoid schizophrenia that was lying dormant, that was asleep, and she went partying with her friends in college. All of a sudden, she's starting to have these trips. You know what I mean? Like starting to have these voices in her head and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to show this clip to show how serious the demon part of mental illness is. So she's going to be describing this girl's day. It's like it's a minute long. It's real short. She's going to describe from her day waking up at 8 o'clock to her going to sleep at 12 o'clock at night. The whole day, right? Listen real closely to the details of her day and tell me if y'all don't think that this is demonic. All right, you can go ahead.
Let me run you through a day. 7 a.m., I wake up in bed, and I lay there for a while. I live alone, but I hear footsteps throughout the apartment, and I keep wondering, did somebody break in last night? So then I have to get up, and I check the lock. The lock is fine, but I hear the footsteps in the kitchen now, so I have to go check the kitchen. Nobody's there, so then I have to check the entire apartment at least 3 more times to make sure I'm alone. 7:30 a.m., I'm running a bath, but I keep hearing these voices inside of my apartment talking about whether leather car seats are better or cloth car seats. So I have to keep putting my head under water to block the noises out. 8 a.m., I feel something crawling on my leg. I look down to inspect, but there's nothing. This happens about every 30 minutes throughout the day. 9 a.m., I'm eating toast for breakfast, but it starts tasting like metal. 10 a.m., I start walking to campus, but the gravity is different today. The gravity is actually pulling slightly towards my right, so I feel like I'm walking on a hill sideways. I need to sit down and wait unless I want to fall over. 11:15, I sit on the toilet on campus, and the tiles keep getting larger and smaller, and it's making me very dizzy. I want to throw up. 12 p.m., I'm talking to a friend who canceled on me a few weeks ago. The voice in my head keeps telling me that they absolutely hate me, and that's why they canceled. 1:15 p.m., sitting in class, the teacher's words suddenly don't sound English at all. I can't even concentrate. 2 p.m., I can finally eat again, but I can't help but feel paranoid that the people behind the counter had slipped something that I'm allergic to in my food. I have to take apart the food, inspecting it bit by bit. By the end, my meal is just a big mound of slop, and it's getting cold. 3 p.m., I see my friends, but I can't even concentrate on what they're saying to me because the voice in my head keeps telling me that they're just pretending to like me. 4:30 p.m., I'm home. I'm trying to do homework, but it just sounds like someone's tapping on my window to get my attention. But I live on the 2nd floor. But still, I need to make sure. 6 p.m., my foot feels like it's on fire, so it distracts me. 7 p.m., I'm trying to read, but the words on the page, they start meshing together and they're floating off the page and melting. 8 p.m., I smell something burning in the kitchen. 9 p.m., I'm tired, but the voice in my head keeps telling me how useless I am and how the human race would be better without me. The voice keeps telling me all the ways that I can die tonight. 10:30 p.m., I finally finish my homework and I'm laying in bed, but it feels like someone is standing next to my bed, standing over me, watching me browse on my phone. I keep turning to check that nobody's there. 12:45 a.m., my last thought before falling asleep is, I need to be killed to truly be happy.
Wow.
So, showing that clip, the demonic influence behind. Now, this the scientists are saying that it's paranoid schizophrenia. That's straight demonic. The different taste in the food. The person standing by the bed that's not there. She lives on the 2nd floor, and somebody's tapping on her window. How? all in her head. So what I wanted to speak on is when I went to rehab. Now y'all know that they define the addiction as a mental illness. When you go to detox, where they put you in the psych ward with the other people that have mental illnesses. So they classify that as that. So when I was out on the street, they would say, "You must be bipolar, Jessica. You must be bipolar." The drugs was making me have the really high highs and the really low lows, making me anxious, making me have depression. So DFACS, my child is in DFACS custody, so they're like, you need to go get an assessment before you can think about getting your child back. So I go get an assessment. Get the assessment. They diagnosed me with bipolar. So as I'm walking out the door, the doctor is like, hold on, are you still using? I was like, yeah, I'm still using. And he crumbled up the paper and he was like, I can't diagnose you if you're still using, because basically what he's saying is I'm talking to a spirit. I'm talking to a demon. I'm not talking to the real you. So I'm actually diagnosing this spirit and not the real you. So you got to come back to me when you're clean. When I went to detox, almost done. When I went to detox, they told me that I was they didn't say bipolar, but they gave me the anxiety and the depression medicine. So after I got on that medicine, I went to rehab and I got my medicine to go with me. Here we go, y'all. Listen. I got the medicine to go with me. So I'm like 2 months in. And so I'm starting to, come down on my medicine as far as like running out. I need to refill it. So I called the people and I'm like, hey, I need to refill my medicine. Well, you're going to have to call the doctor and tell them that we need to get a fax. Da, 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 da. All right, call the doctor. No, well, you're going to have to call Detox and tell them that we need a fax from them. Back and forth, they telling me to call each other like 4 different times. By this time, I'm off the medicine for at least a month. I had had my spiritual awakening, which was a whole transformation where it wasn't just I was just saved. I had a personal encounter with God Himself, where He came to me in my bedroom and said, "You're mine. You are no longer this person, and I'm going to use you to help other people." So then He told me, and by no means am I saying that anybody should stop their medicine if they're on medicine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to the doctors. I want to make sure that that's clear, because everybody has their own spiritual awakening with God, and He's the one that's going to tell you how to go about. If you feel like you don't need to be on medicine, He's going to tell you how to do it, how to maneuver around it, how if you need to wean off of it. Now with me, it was just point blank period. So I was like, how am I going to get my medicine? And God straight up told me, you don't need it. So I was like, okay. And so at first I started freaking out, because they say you can't stop medicine just like abruptly like that. You got to wean yourself off. Then I got to thinking, I've been off my medicine for like a month and a half. I didn't know I had been off that medicine like that. And I was just fine, because He had healed my mind and healed my spirit, right? He had changed my whole life around, right? So this is it right here. If you're dealing with a mental illness, only a spiritual awakening can heal you from the demonic influence behind that mental illness, because it is all spiritual. It is the environment, it is genetics, but it's really the spiritual part, as far as the spiritual dimension and what's going on in your mind. Because my dad, he was like, how do they give you a physical pill to help your brain? A physical pill to help your mental state. Because when I was on those pills, y'all, I had no feelings. I didn't cry. I wasn't mad. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I didn't do anything. So at first I was like, that's good, because, I'm used to going off on people. And so now I'm not going off. I'm not feeling a certain type of way. I'm not up. I'm not down. There wasn't nothing. But how many of y'all know in rehab, you got to cry. You got to get it out. You got to feel them feelings so that you can feel all over again, because we was numbing with the drugs. And so you're coming back into your feeling. No, you don't have the drugs no more. Now you're learning how to feel, and I couldn't feel anything, and the pills was blocking it. So with the spiritual awakening, which is a total shift in your mindset. It's the next level of just being saved. It's the actual open door to the spiritual realm with God. That's where he goes and takes you and protects you and cleanses your mind out from the demonic spirits that's taking over. How you get a spiritual awakening and how you get a cleansing is with the word of God and prayer. Now, a person that's just now coming in to recovery, it just don't seem realistic for a person to just start praying and start reading. I've heard like being here, I've heard people saying, I really have a desire to get up and read my word every day. I really have a desire to pray every morning. It's just kind of hard. The transition from not doing that to doing it is kind of hard. Let me tell you what my sponsor told me, because it's only through this that the healing comes. My sponsor told me that her sponsor said, because she had a hard time praying, starting out. And she was like, what you do is you get your shoes that you're going to go to work in, and you put them way under the bed, way under there. That way, when you get up in the morning and your feet hit the floor, you can get down on your knees. And you got to get that box, you got to get your shoes, but you might as well stay down there and pray. You might as well stay down there and give a quick prayer. It doesn't take a lot, especially if God knows that if you're first starting out, it ain't gonna be this long drawn out prayer. It's just the fact of you acknowledge him. Lord, thank you for waking me up this morning. Okay, when it comes to the word, you gotta get in your word. Every morning, I do not start my day without it. I do not. If I got to be at work at 5 in the morning, I had a swing shift at rehab where I was basically getting 2 hours of sleep because I was working the night shift and a day shift on different days. So some days I would just get 2 hours of sleep. I'd get up at 2:30. I had to be at work at 4. I'd get up at 2:30 and read. So that came from the hunger. So when you're first starting out, I know that's not realistic. You know what I mean? I get it. So with the word, what you do is, if you first starting out, this is what God gave me. You start with your Proverbs. You start with your Proverbs. Today's the 26th. You start with Proverbs 26. You don't have to read the whole chapter starting out. What you do is you read a verse. You read until one of them verses hits you like slap you in the face. Wow. You know what I mean? Like that's what you do. Say you read the first verse, second verse, that third verse slap you. Stop right there. Because you're going to eat on that word all day long. Just on that verse. If it's just a word out of the verse, you ain't got to memorize the whole verse. If it's just a word, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding. In all my ways acknowledge him, and he will direct my path. If it's just the word trust, eat trust all day long. It's going to be some situations that you come up with that when you read that word, it's going to be some situations that's going to test that word. So you see trust, right? Okay, God, I'm closing it. Trust. That's what I'm going to eat on today. So you're going to go through some situations where you got to practice trust, right? With the trust, that's what builds your spirit man up, because you're going to see God move and you eating trust. As you start to do that and you do it, be consistent. It just look, starting out 5 minutes. You get down on your knee, put your shoes under there. Get down on your knees. Lord, thank you for today. All right, that's all I got for right now. That's it. You know what I mean? All right, let me get in my word. 26. All right. Trust in Lord. Okay, trust. I'll take that word. That's good enough for me. And go on. God honors that. He honors that because you're trying. You're trying. He don't expect you to read a whole chapter, but let me tell you what come out of that. What comes out of that is hunger. Hunger will start to build up. Because if you eat that trust, and then you eat another word the next day, and another word, you ain't doing no work. It's God in you doing the all of a sudden, I want to read a little bit more. You know what I mean? I'm going to read just a little bit more. Then you're going to get to the point where you like, shoot, I'm busy read this whole chapter. You know, then you get to the point where you like me. I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning because I want to see what he got to say. Prayer, y'all, and I'm done. Prayer exercises your spirit. It builds it up, just like weights. Prayer. So when that hunger starts to come, and that prayer life is gonna get even more effective, to where you starting to pray the word. You starting to pray what you read. And then it's starting to sow seeds in your life. And then them seeds start to sprout up. And you start to see the evidence of it. And you like, the word work. Prayer works. I'm no longer cussing nobody out. I'm no longer doing things that hurt me and hurt other people. This works. Y'all, I am addicted. I'm addicted. I was addicted to drugs. I thought I was addicted to drugs. And I was out there for 18 years. So y'all know I know addiction. But it's nothing like this high right here. It's nothing like this high right here. I love to worship God. I love to lift up his name and be like, God, thank you so much, because you know what? I was out there in the streets, and now I'm lifting up your name, Lord. I was in my car, sleeping in my car, and now I got an apartment. My son was gone, and now he's back, and I got my son. I'm paying for my son's college. He's there. I'm helping other people. That's beautiful to me. I love it. It's nothing like this right here, y'all. So I just challenge you to try it. Put them shoes up under the bed. Get down. Say you a couple of words. Get in your word. And I'm guarantee you, I know for a fact that you will come into your spiritual awakening. And when you come into that spiritual awakening, your whole life changes. It shifts. Whole life changes. It turns it right side up. Not upside down. It turns it right side up. And then you're going to be on your pathway to peace, joy, love. You're going to be loving your spouse, loving your children. Y'all try it. And I thank y'all for hearing me out tonight. It's been a blessing.